Who's counting the 30 seconds?
I'm looking at those guys back there. So
Okay, I
you're
will.
good to go? Okay. All right. We're getting ready to start the finance committee here. And as we start, I'd like to ask for an amendment to the agenda to add an item under budget key indicators titled one-time payment for non-faculty employees. And for that, I would need a motion.
Okay, so I will officially call the meeting to order. I'm Finance Chair Bob Mahaney. I'm joined today by fellow committee member trustee Donna Marie Brown. And in an ex officio capacity, Chair Tammy Savoy. Absent owing to a prior obligation is trustee Hart. So we have a request for the amendment to the agenda from Vice President Leach. I would ask for a motion to accept that amendment.
Sure, I move to accept the one-time payment for non-faculty employees added to today's agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. That is added.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Leach. And with that, first item on our agenda is internal audits. I would ask for Ms. Jill Compton to present.
Good afternoon, committee. We have two items today to address. The first is the December audit open issues report. There are no new items on the open issues report. There's just status updates. The first one for the Behavior Education Assessment and Research Center. The item was that the segregation of duties controls were not strong. Since the last time we met, they've hired a biller/secretary and training is in process. The item will stay on the report until I've been able to assess that the segregation of duties controls have been implemented. The second item on the report is multi-factor authentication. Our Committee on Information Security Operations meets bi-weekly on this issue to update the status. We're progressing as expected and expect to complete this item on time. Any questions about the report?
No
Trustee Brown?
questions.
No?
Nope.
And none here other than I appreciate the reports and the comprehensiveness of them. I would ask for a motion to accept both reports as written.
Yes, Chair Mahoney, I move rather that we accept the report as written.
I will second it, and all those in favor of accepting the reports, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, both reports are accepted. Thank you, Ms. Compton.
Okay, so we don't need to do the separate for the risk assessment?
Well, we jumped ahead. But, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the second report is the 2022 proposed audit plan. There are 10 items proposed for 2022 audits. They address several types of risk, including regulatory risk, restructuring risk, financial risk, technology risk. We will need a motion from the committee to accept the proposed audit plan for 2022.
And I actually have a one question for you on that plan.
Yes, sir.
Is that shared with our external auditors and done in conjunction with them in any way when you're putting that
I have a
together?
strong relation with our external audit firm. We don't forward it to them without their asking, but we discuss in conjunction with them what the plans are for internal and external reviews before they come to campus. So they ask me which reports I've issued for the year and adjust their audit plan according to what I have found and what I have
What you're
covered.
doing. Okay. Okay, thank you. So with that, just to make sure we cover all our bases.
Yes.
I will ask for another motion to accept
Yes.
the audit plan.
Thank you.
So yes, I move to accept the 2022 proposed audit plan as written.
I second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, now
That
both.
concludes.
plans are
Thank
accepted.
you.
Thank
Thank
you. Appreciate it.
Next on our agenda is again, Mr. Gavin Leach, Vice President for Finance and Administration, to provide us with an update on the university's budgets and key performance indicator.
One item in advance of that, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting financial statements.
Boy, I am really off my game here.
Okay. So I'm going to have Jamie Beauchamp and Bill Sheltro walk through. As you know, we're required to submit these each year and have
Yep.
them
Yes.
separately approved by the board.
Mhm.
So do you two want to come up and walk through them real quick?
Good afternoon, committee members. I appreciate the opportunity to present the results of our audit of WNMU TV and WNMU FM. My name is William Shelter. I'm from Anderson Tackman and Company, representing our Marquette office. Getting right into the audit results, we're pleased to report that we were able to complete the audit as scheduled this year. We have an unqualified opinion as there were no scope issues under generally accepted audit standards. We found no departure issues under GASB accounting standards. CPB reporting and attestation will be completed within the extended time parameters as required by CPB. Our audit approach was risk-based. We updated systems documentation and performed risk-based assessment standards. For efficiency's sake, test of controls were performed for cash disbursements, while for other transaction categories, we applied substantive-based audit techniques. The year-end field work was completed in the timetable that was presented in our letter to the Board of Trustees. Management employee assistance were appropriate and helpful as expected. We encountered no significant items relating to audit administration for the current year. The report to management under SAS 115 indicates there is no issues to address from the previous year, and we found no material weaknesses related to the audit. Communications with those charged with governance as required under SAS 114. We found no exceptional items, and there's not anything to mention in that letter. At this time, I think Controller Jamie Beauchamp will follow with some financial summaries. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to now briefly present the financial results for the TV and the FM stations for fiscal year 21. So I'll begin with pages 15 and 17 with the financial statements that you have in your materials, as noted at the bottom of the report page. First of all, the statement of net position or the balance sheet for the TV station. You'll notice that total assets increased by about $800,000 this year, which is primarily due to the loan proceeds from the PPP loan that the station received, along with stimulus funds that were received by the station in fiscal 21. Total liabilities decreased by about $200,000, and that is from savings or a decrease in the MEPSERS amount that was allocated to the TV station. So with that at the bottom, you would see the total net position increased by about $1 million this year in 21. On page 17, which is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the income statement for the TV station, you'll notice that the total operating revenue increased by about $360,000. And that again is primarily due to receiving the stimulus funding for the year. Operating expenses for the TV station remain flat. The non-operating revenue decreased by about $473,000 this year. And that is primarily due to the capital grants went down. The capital grants in fiscal 19 and 20 were based on the money we received for the repack project. And so in fiscal 21, we were at the very tail end of that. So that's why that non-operating revenue decreased. So again, with that, the net position will have increased by about $1 million for the TV station. Moving on to the FM station, and these would be on pages 16 and 18 of the financial statements. First on 16, the statement of net position or the balance sheet, you'll notice that total assets increased by about $340,000, again, which is the PPP loan proceeds and the stimulus funding. Liabilities for the FM station increased by about $180,000. And that was a combination of the PPP loan being recorded as a liability and an additional person being added to additional MEPSERS program being added for the FM station. So with that, net position increased by about $168,000 for the year. On page 18, which is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the FM station, the operating revenue increased by about $82,000, again, based on the stimulus funding. Operating expenses for the FM station decreased by about $117,000 this year. And that was mostly because the prior year, they were a little bit higher with the buyouts being recorded in the prior year. Non-operating revenue remained flat in this year. And so you'll notice that the net position increased by about $168,000. Then the remainder of the report, the management discussion analysis and the notes to the statements, you can read at your leisure. And then just a couple of comments, the TV and FM station both ended this fiscal year 21 in good position. And the PPP loans and the stimulus funding will, is going to leave in a good spot for even the upcoming uncertainty yet with the pandemic. So with that, any questions or?
Any questions?
Great report.
That will require a motion.
Right. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to accept the audit reports for WNMU TV and WNMU FM's financial statements as written.
Yes, I move the draft audit of the WNMU TV and WNMU FM financial statements. This audit be accepted as written.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. I second the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And thank you, Bill and Jamie, for your good work
Yeah.
on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, see if I can get us back on track.
All right.
Vice President Leach, budgets and key indicators.
All right. Yep, in your materials, the key indicators. Right now for this fiscal year, we're on target for appropriation as expected. Tuition and fees for the fall, we're running slightly ahead of budget, about $100,000. For winter, we're looking at it being pretty much even with the budget. So overall, still in good position, on early numbers that we've seen. With regard to dining services, they're actually running for the fall about $300,000 above budget. I think that's throwing everybody off. We're looking at the numbers for winter coming in yet for them. Again, looking at where the fall's at, they'll probably remain in strong position in dining services. Residence hall revenues were about on target with the prior year. And apartment revenues are running about $100,000 above budget in the fall and are projecting that would remain probably again in the winter ahead of budget. So overall from revenue perspective, we're standing in fairly good shape at this point. Any questions on that part?
Just a comment that this is great news in these challenging times to have this kind of financial performance, and also the financial strength of this university continues to be very, very good. So thank you for all the work that you and your team do.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, a one-time payment to non-faculty employees. As you recall, we recognized the outstanding work of our faculty in the most recent contract that was settled this fall by providing a one-time 2.5% one-time payment for this fiscal year. We would also like to recommend recognizing the outstanding work of our non-faculty by providing them the same 2.5% one-time payment. And we would plan on making this payment in the last paycheck of this calendar year. So what we're asking for is for the finance committee to make a recommendation as a special action item to the full board for a one-time 2.5% payment to our non-faculty employees for this fiscal year.
Do any committee members have any questions for Mr. Leach on this?
I just want to make sure it's 2.5%.
Yes.
Vice President Leach, and approximate dollar amount, what does that equate to?
That's about $1,050,000 in total. And we believe, based on where our budget's at now, we would be able to support that in the existing budget, and that would make the allocation for the non-faculty similar to the faculty as far as a percentage of one-time dollars available to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. So I like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the board approve the one-time payment to non-faculty employees as a special action item.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Sorry, I appreciate the fact that you brought this to us. I think it's a very important thing in order to make all of our employees rewarded for the great work that they've done over the past period of time during the pandemic, particularly.
Completely agree. Yeah.
And I appreciate the support of the board for all our employees at the university. It's, I think they'll be very appreciative of this.
Good.
Thank you.
With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
And
now on
back to you for a report on facilities, Mr. Leach.
So capital projects update. Give you some pictures on things we've been working on.
Great.
Kathy and Jim obviously helped me put this together. They're here for any of the deep questions you have on the projects. The first one, career tech and engineering. We're moving forward as we've been sort of discussing along the way. As of now, we actually had approval by the state to develop bid documents in October. And we will be issuing the bid on December 22nd. And they'll be due in January. The goal is to begin construction on the career tech facility beginning in May. And so this is going to be an aggressive project that goes from May 2022 to August 23. And this is sort of at the main entrance of the building that you see as you walk in, quite different from the existing building right now. And just had one other picture that we've had more recent updates to the renderings from the last time we've been going through it. But right now, everything seems like it's on target, as far as the project timelines. We sort of broke down the various pieces of the project. As you can see, the welding area, hydraulics, the BIM lab, which is like the CAD lab. Those will begin in May 2022, and that's in yellow section. The mass demolition, which is where we reduce about 25% of the front of the building and reduce the overall square footage. That'll also be done in May, but that demolition piece will have to be done by August as we start classes again. We begin work on the Innovation Hall in that time period, as well as administrative offices and classrooms. And that's a longer term work on that part of the project. And the HVAC of the electronics classrooms will begin in January 23 with the target end to August 2023. And finally, the machine and CNC labs will also begin in May of 2023 with the expected completion date in August 2023. So everything is moving forward. So far, the numbers all look pretty good and everything, and been working well with the departments. And so we're off to a good start on this project. Related to that project, we talked about our cosmetology and hospitality renovations. We put the bids out on November 29th. You can see a little bit of a rendering that's will change the look on the west side of this facility on the main floor. And the bids were out November 29th. They're due on December 21st, which is coming soon. And the construction for that area will begin in January of 2022 with expected completion by August. And we'll really need to get that done because the area that they're in currently won't be there anymore. So we need to make this a pretty aggressive timeline. As we look at the hospitality area, we issued the bids at the same time. Bids were due 21st. And they're on the same construction schedule beginning in January, ending by August of 2022. And that's basically in the old Wildcat Den area on the second floor here. So both of those are out and they're moving along, and so far so good, right? All right. Also been working on the Health and Wellness Center. We're working on design work between now and January, as well as putting the bid documents out during that time frame. Construction, we're hoping to begin in May of 2022. And that'll have a little longer time cycle to July of 2023. Is that correct? And you can see the overall location of where that construction would be, including you have the direct access in the from Lincoln Street right into a new parking lot designated for patients. So this one is pretty exciting to get moving forward on. Right now we sort of have the programming layout done, but by February we'll start to have some better renderings of what those areas will look like. So they've been working with both the health center and counseling center on a programmatic layout of the area, and things seem like they're moving along quite well. Again, we'll bid in April on the project and hope and target beginning construction in May with the completion in July of 2023. The Bear Center, we're still working on design. That'll happen continue through the end of January. Plan on going out for bid in February of 2022 and hope to begin construction in March, and planning on a December 2022 completion for that facility. And anything else on that one? That everything going on all right? Okay. And finally, we're taking bids on demolition of West Hall this month. And our plan is to begin the abatement work inside of the facility. That'll happen from March to April. And then once school gets out at the end of April, we'll begin the demolition work on West Hall, which is the West Hall is the old residence hall that's been abandoned, that's back behind this facility here. All right. And then we continue to phase 3 of the hockey locker room. Again, this is a donor funded project. We're going to bid it out in January, and the plan is still to begin construction in May with the completion by August. And that we remember we split this into a couple of phases, and so this will be the last phase of that project. So so that's continuing to move forward. And then finally, if you've been in Cohotus in the last few weeks, you notice a little bit of difference. We're moving away from the dark, dingy look into a brighter look with actual bright lights and lighter walls to make it more inviting for everybody that enters into the facility. And that work should be completed the end of January, Jim, is that right? Okay. And so that things are progressing along for that project. Any questions on the projects?
Just a quick question on this. Very exciting. I mean, we've got aggressive timelines and everything seems to be happening. So I think it'll be thrilling to be on campus to see all of this. And just wanted to know what the outlook is of supplies. We're hearing about, supply chain challenges with materials, and just wondering what you feel the outlook is as it relates to these projects that we're looking forward to.
Maybe Jim and Kathy, they're talking directly pretty consistently with Myron is doing a number of these jobs and others, but maybe come up here real quick, Jim.
It depends on the product. There are some things we're getting ready to renovate for hospitality management. One of the things that we're hearing from kitchen suppliers is there is some long lead items for select pieces of equipment. Doors and door hardware, those things have long lead items. Our hope, though, is we're bidding early enough where they're not going to cause us delay. But Kathy and I talk a lot about contingency plans and what happens if we don't get a specific piece of equipment for hospitality. One of the things we've been looking at is kind of taking the equipment that they have, and if we need to move some of that over, we will, so they can operate next August.
Got it. Thank you.
And in terms of construction workers, is the demand on the construction workers such that you feel like you're going to be able to get people to meet these timelines pretty well?
Some of that's consistency.
Yeah, yeah, and the two big projects, Myron is our construction manager on both of them, and that's one of the things that we've been talking with them. They've also been talking directly with the different trade unions, and right now there is a comfort level in labor, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good questions. Any other questions? All right, that part was for update. Now, you had approved the bonds for these projects, but we do have some projects that are within that are over the $250,000 threshold that we need to have approved by the board as we get our bids in and start to move forward. And so you have the Northern Center for Hospitality Cosmetology, the Health and Wellness Center, the Bear Center, and demolition of West Hall would all be projects over 250,000 that would be moving forward prior to our next board meeting. So we would need a motion to approve those.
Okay, would ask for that motion.
Sure. I move that the board approve the projects over $250,000. And these are the projects we just saw, so they're very exciting, I might add.
I will second the motion. Any discussion? I just wanted to make one comment, and that is, it's really, and I know you're going to touch on the bond side here momentarily, but the fact that we've gone from, when we first started talking about these projects to now where we're actually going to be breaking ground here very shortly in all these is really, really exciting. And it's, again, just to reiterate something that was discussed in September, these are all student-centric projects for the most part. And they're going to help with academics. They're going to help with student health and well-being. So I'm in full support of them and really appreciate all the work that everybody's done to get them to this point.
Thank you. Yeah, we got a great team working on them. So
So with
makes it a
that,
lot easier to do when you had good people working on it. So
it is, isn't it?
yeah.
I know how that works. I will call for the vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. That gets us down to, again, with Vice President Leach, an update on the recent bond issuance.
Since we last met, we went through two ratings updates, S&P and Moody's, and we received very positive news on both. S&P rated us A stable, and Moody's rated us A1 stable outlook. So those are, for our size of institution, those are very high bond ratings. And those were definitely a big help as we went out onto the market. And we actually ended up going out in the market to sell our bonds yesterday. And we had a very successful day. We went out for, the 34 million all-in costs on the bond issuance. And within about, I think it was 45 minutes, we had exceeded the orders for our bonds. We had $146 million in total orders. We had gone out with the negotiated rate about 2.52%. But based on the orders exceeding our level that we had on the market, we were able then to go back and bring that rate down further and ended up with a 2.46% all-in cost on our bonds. And that was, you're always nervous going into it. In the first 10 minutes, I was even more nervous, but after that, things really started moving and had ended up with extremely positive results. Some of the big investors in it were Fidelity at $22 million. We also had Wasner Schroeder out of New York $19.5 million of orders, and additional investors were JP Morgan, Lord Abbett, Vanguard, Loomis, Federated, State Farm, Nuveen, and a number of other smaller ones. So there was a lot of interest in our bonds. And again, when companies buy our bonds or investment firms, they're making an investment in the university. And I know people think of it as like a mortgage where you go to a bank and get a mortgage. This is actually people investing in the university, and they're banking on us having positive financial results going forward to support those bonds, because it does affect their rates of return in their portfolios. So it shows a lot of faith in the university, especially with the amount of interest in acquiring our bonds during the issuance. So it's extremely positive news. I got to thank Jamie and Rebecca, and we did a lot of calls on this one over the last month. And even Fidelity, who ended up being the largest investor, gave us a bunch of questions the night before we were going to market, and we were able to get those answers out in the evening. And I think that helped put them over the top on being the largest investor in our bonds. So that was a real good day yesterday. So we were very relieved too. So, but anyway, that's the update, and very positive news for the university.
So I just wanted a couple of comments. This type of fantastic bond placement success doesn't happen just by accident. This is a culmination of years of exceptionally good fiscal stewardship and management. And what I especially like about it is that, there's a lot of years, as you know better than I do, where we had to keep tightening our belts. And now that's paying off. We tightened our belts. We did it in a very responsible way. We kept our balance sheet strong and healthy. The market has responded and recognized that. I mean, for context, the supply that we were putting out there, the demand for our bonds was 5 times greater than what we were selling, almost 5 times greater. That's pretty darn phenomenal. And you're attracting some of the best and most sophisticated buyers in the nation. And then to place it at a 2.46 interest rate at a time when inflation's at 6%, it's effectively, the economists would tell you that you're basically paying a negative interest rate. So the timing was exceptional. The demand was strong. Just thank you to everybody that was involved in making that happen. This is a big event for Northern. And as we said in the last segment, this money's being invested in new facilities that are going to reap a lot of further additional dividends, quantitative and qualitative, I suspect, for the university. So just great job. And I'm just really thrilled by these results.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks.
Well said. I had nothing to add to that except for congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. On to the
One last item, right?
one last item. Oh, I'm 3 minutes late. So I'll try to get through this one quick. The last one is approval of our liquor licenses. And we have 3 out there. One in April for the main event, hosted by Hospitality and Management. April 29th, the senior exhibition by the School of Art and Design, and May 26th, Dancing with the Stars, UP Hospice Foundation. We need motion for that.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the board approve the temporary liquor licenses just presented.
I will second that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I believe that is our complete agenda. Thank you, everyone, for all the work you did on the agenda and everything that went into the agenda. It's just really great to be able to be part of this and to report these great results. So with that, I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, even though we're adjourned, I would like to